Welcome to Carcassonne Online. Let's step off the beaten path. Today we reveal the best-kept secrets.
Yeah, because, everyone knows the massive medieval walled citadel up on the hill, but the real beating heart of the area, it's actually hiding right at the bottom of that hill.
Right. So today's mission is a deep dive into the Bastide Saint Louis. And as a quick news flash, think of this place as a quirky, grid-planned marvel that was built by a king, burned by a prince, and is literally paved with the exact same marble as the White House.
It's an incredible story, and to understand that urban survival, you really have to look at how violently it started, because the original locals didn't just, decide to move downhill for a better view.
Yeah, they were forced, right?
Exactly. In 1260, the walled citadel fell, and the residents were forcibly exiled.
So you're suddenly kicked out of your ancestral fortress, and you're just staring at an empty field across the river. I mean, it's less of an ancient urban reboot and really more of a forced refugee camp.
That is precisely the reality of it, and that's where King Louis IX steps in. He founds this new town for the exiles, but he lays it out on a strict checkerboard grid.
Wait, a checkerboard grid?
Yeah, which was highly unusual for medieval Europe, where streets usually just, meandered wherever the cows walked.
Right, so why a grid, though? Was it just an aesthetic choice?
No, it was all about control and speed. When you have a massive, angry influx of refugees, a grid lets you divide plots of land equitably and instantly. There are no turf wars over who gets the better street corner.
Oh, wow. So it was basically crowd control through urban planning.
Exactly. But this pristine new grid didn't stay pristine for long. Fast forward to 1355, and Edward the Black Prince rolls through and completely burns the wooden town to the ground.
Just utter ashes.
Utter ashes. And if that wasn't enough, jump ahead to the 17th century, and a brutal plague wipes out a quarter of the population. We're talking nearly 2,000 people dead.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the body collectors walking the grid wore these heavy, dark veils to protect themselves. The terrified locals just called them ravens.
I mean, you've got an exiled population, a completely torched city, and then a plague that decimates the survivors.
Yeah.
Usually that's where the history book closes.
You'd think so. But here's where the mechanics of history get really fascinating. That massive depopulation actually fundamentally shifted the local economy.
Really? How so?
Well, with fewer people, wealth and land consolidated. And that opened up the literal physical space needed for a massive industrial pivot in the 17th and 18th centuries woolen cloth.
Right, the stats on this are completely wild. Out of a population of 14,000 residents, almost 10,000 were working in textiles.
The entire Bastide basically transformed into a manufacturing powerhouse.
Wait, I have to push back on that, though. 10,000 out of 14,000 people. Was this essentially a giant medieval company town?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because it sounds incredibly risky to rely on just one single industry for survival. If everyone is weaving wool, who is growing the food, It's like a Rust Belt city relying entirely on one auto plant.
It was a massive vulnerability, you're entirely right. They were highly dependent on importing basic goods, but geography kind of saved their gamble. The newly built Canal du Midi was right at their doorstep.
Ah, giving them a direct shipping lane.
Exactly, so they could export this luxury cloth across Europe and even the Middle East.
High risk, massive reward. And you can physically see that payout when you walk the streets today. I mean, all those gorgeous townhouses that line the streets, they were funded entirely by wool money.
It literally shaped the ground they walked on. Take the vibrant Central Square plus Carnot. You're walking on Red Caen's Minervois marble.
Which blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because that is the exact same ultra-luxurious stone they used in Versailles and the White House, just sitting right there in a public square.
It shows you the sheer scale of their wealth. But there are even wilder time capsules hiding in plain sight. Take the Cathedral of Saint-Michel nearby. If you walk inside, the 14th century interior paint looks vibrantly untouched.
And that's because someone sealed the doors shut in the 16th century. The cathedral is basically a medieval Tupperware container. Someone sealed it shut and accidentally kept the history perfectly fresh for centuries. But why seal it?
It wasn't for preservation, that's for sure. It was a highly political move during the Wars of Religion. They sealed the doors to fortify the building against attacks.
Wow.
Yeah, the unintentional byproduct was that it protected those delicate pigments from sunlight and candle soot for centuries.
See, I love that. And there's a human element keeping that history alive right now. There's a dedicated local caretaker named Rose who spends her time painstakingly restoring the cathedral.
Right, doesn't she do the woodwork and the sewing?
Yeah, she does it all as a personal thank you to God following her grandson's miraculous medical recovery.
It's just a beautiful reminder that the Bastide isn't just a dead museum piece for tourists to gawk at. It's a living, breathing community.
It really proves the point. The most fascinating part of a destination isn't always the main tourist attraction on the postcard. It's the resilient neighborhood just down the hill.
Yeah, we love the romanticized castle, but the real human ingenuity happened down in the grid.
Which leaves you with a final thought to ponder. Think back to 1355 when the Black Prince burned that original wooden grid to ashes.
Hmm.
If the original wooden town hadn't been completely burned to the ground, would it ever have had the physical space to become the wealthy, perfectly planned architectural marvel it is today? Is total destruction sometimes the necessary fuel for a city's greatest golden age?